Do you know who I am?" The voice is a low roar, used to silencing rooms. In the most expensive restaurant in New York, a billionaire, Arthur Sterling, towers over a simple waitress. He's just thrown a $400 glass of wine at her feet. The entire room holds its breath, waiting for her to be fired, to be crushed. But the waitress, Alex, doesn't even flinch. She looks him dead in the eye, and when she speaks, her one quiet sentence makes the billionaire's blood run cold, freezing the entire restaurant. What did she say? And who is she? The Gilded Swan was not a restaurant. It was a theater. Located on the 64th floor overlooking Central Park, it was a place where prime ministers whispered to hedge fund managers and old money heiresses picked at salads that cost more than a monthly subway pass. The carpets were so thick they absorbed all sound, creating a pressurized, hushed intensity. The silver was real, the crystal was hand-blown, and the staff moved with the silent, practiced efficiency of ghosts. And Alex Vance, known here only as Elena, was one of them. To the patrons, she was invisible, a set of hands refilling a water glass, a polite voice murmuring, "Will there be anything else, sir?" But Alex wasn't just serving, she was studying. For 2 years she had worked this floor, absorbing the ambient radiation of power. She learned to identify a Brioni suit from a Tom Ford. She knew which scions were feuding with their fathers, which wives were cheating with their trainers, and, most importantly, which CEOs were sweating, their smiles just a fraction too tight as they looked at their phones. "Table 7 is getting restless, Eleanor," whispered Sarah, another waitress, as they passed in the service corridor. "Mrs. Davenport is complaining the ambient light is too yellow. What does that even mean?" Alex quickly grabbed a chilled water bottle. "It means she lost money on the NASDAQ today and needs to control something. Just nod, look sympathetic, and ask the busboy to dim the sconce by her table. Even if it doesn't do anything, she'll feel heard." Sarah sighed. "You're too smart for this, Elena. You analyze them like a biologist." "We all have our hobbies," Alex said, her voice flat, betraying nothing. Her hobby was patience. Her hobby was waiting. Alex was, by every measure, a ghost. She lived in a third-floor walk-up in Astoria, Queens, owned 3 work uniforms, 2 sets of civilian clothes, and 1 immaculate, tailored black suit she kept preserved in plastic. Her walls were bare save for a single framed newspaper clipping hidden in her closet. It was 10 years old. The headline was about a corporate merger, a triumphant story of a new titan, Sterling Global. A smaller sub-headline mentioned the unfortunate but necessary dissolution of a smaller firm, the Alistair Group, following an embezzlement scandal by its founder, Marcus Vance. Marcus Vance was her father. He had died 2 years later, broken, pen-invalid and convicted, maintaining his innocence to his last breath. Alex, forced to drop out of her freshman year at Yale, had vanished, changing her last name and starting her long, meticulous crawl back into the world that had destroyed her. She hadn't come to New York to build a new life. She had come to reclaim an old one. The Gilded Swan was the watering hole of the man who had orchestrated it all. She had served his lieutenants, his bankers, and his son. But in 2 years, the king himself had never appeared, until tonight. Mr. Dubois, the restaurant's severe, hawk-nosed maître d', swept into the service station. His presence alone made the staff stand straighter. "Listen, everyone," Dubois said, his voice a low, urgent hiss. "We have a last-minute arrival, a VIP." A nervous energy rippled through the staff. A food critic? Royalty? "It's Arthur Sterling. He's taking the grand veranda table. He is particular. Elena, you're the most senior on the floor tonight. You take him. And for God's sake, no mistakes." Alex's heart didn't pound. It didn't race. It did something far stranger. After 10 years of running hot with rage and cold with grief, it suddenly felt perfectly, terrifyingly still. The air in her lungs felt sharp and clean. She smoothed the front of her starched white apron. She glanced at her reflection in the polished steel of the wine fridge. Her dark hair was pulled back in a severe bun, her face pale and unremarkable. Invisible. "He won't recognize me," she thought. I was just a child. She picked up her silver tray and the heavy leather-bound menus. "Of course, Mr. Dubois." She pushed through the swinging door, her footsteps silent on the thick carpet. There he was, Arthur Sterling. He was older, his hair a shock of distinguished silver, but his eyes were the same, the restless, predatory eyes of a shark, eyes that saw everything as either a meal or a threat. He was flanked by his son, Julian Sterling, a weak-chinned, arrogant man in his late 20s, and 2 other men in expensive suits. Alex approached the table, her entire world narrowing to this 4-foot space. "Good evening, gentlemen," she said, her voice a perfect, neutral flute. "Welcome to the Gilded Swan. May I offer you an aperitif while you review the menu?" Arthur Sterling didn't even look up. He was scrolling through his phone. "Julian, just order. Get me a whiskey. Macallan, the 25. Julian snapped his fingers at Alex, a gesture she despised. "You heard him. Macallan 25, neat, and a bottle of the Euro 1 Margot for the table, and hurry." Alex held his gaze for a beat longer than necessary. "Right away, sir." As she turned, Arthur Sterling finally looked up, his gaze sweeping over her dismissively. It lingered for a half-second, a flicker of nothing. Just a waitress. A piece of furniture. Alex smiled, a tiny, cold thing he couldn't see. "That's right, Mr. Sterling. Look and see nothing." You never did. The long wait was over. The game had just begun. The dinner began with a symphony of arrogance. Julian Sterling, desperate to impress his father, was the most difficult. He sent back the bread. "Is this supposed to be sourdough? It's soggy. Tell the baker." Alex merely nodded. "My apologies, sir." Next, the wine. Alex presented the 2001 Chateau Margaux, a legendary bottle. She decanted it with the steady hands of a surgeon, the deep ruby liquid catching the light. Julian tasted it, swirled it, and sneered. "It's corked." The sommelier, a nervous man named Francis, hurried over. He sniffed the cork, tasted the wine, and paled. "Sir, I assure you, this wine is perfectly sound. It's a classic Bordeaux." "Are you calling me a liar?" Julian snapped. "No, sir, Before Julian could escalate, Arthur Sterling held up a hand. "Enough, Julian. The wine is fine. You just don't have the palate for it. Leave it." Julian flushed crimson, shrinking under his father's casual dismissal. Arthur turned his cold eyes to Alex. "This service is slow. My whiskey?" "Right here, Mr. Sterling," Alex said, placing the heavy crystal tumbler on a coaster beside him. He took a sip, his eyes never leaving his phone. The tension at the table was thick enough to cut. The 2 business partners looked terrified, speaking only when Arthur asked them a direct question. This wasn't a dinner. It was an audience with a volatile king. Alex moved in and out, a shadow, clearing plates, refilling water. She heard snippets of their conversation. A merger. Billions. The Keystone Project. They were celebrating a victory. His victory. The main courses arrived. Arthur had ordered the Wagyu, rare but not blue. Alex set the plate before him. He looked at it. He didn't touch it. He finished a text message, then picked up his steak knife. He cut a tiny piece, chewed it once, and then set his cutlery down with a loud clack against the porcelain. "This is cold," he stated, Alex stopped. "Sir, it's cold, and it's overcooked. I asked for rare. This is medium rare. Are you incompetent? Is everyone in this establishment incompetent?" Mr. Dubois was already gliding over, his face ashen. "Mr. Sterling, is there a problem?" "The problem," Arthur said, his voice rising, "is that I am paying $5,000 for a meal I wouldn't feed to my dog. This girl," he gestured at Alex, "has been disorganized and slow all night." I deeply apologize, sir. We will fire a new one immediately," Dubois stammered. "Don't bother," Arthur said, pushing his chair back. He looked at Alex, and his gaze was no longer dismissive. It was filled with a focused, cruel contempt. It was the look of a man who needed to break something. "Do you have any idea who I am?" he said, his voice dropping to a low, menacing roar that carried across the hushed restaurant. The clinking of cutlery stopped. All eyes turned to their table. "I am Arthur Sterling," he continued, standing up. "I am responsible for half the skyline you see out that window. When I ask for a rare steak, I expect a rare steak. When I expect good service, I don't expect to be served by a dim-witted, useless—" He was shouting now. Julian looked embarrassed, but also grimly pleased. Alex stood still, her tray held at her side. She didn't cry. She didn't flinch. She simply waited for him to finish. "You're fired," he spat, though he had no authority to say it. "You'll be lucky to get a job washing dishes in a diner after I'm through with you." He was about to say more, but he had made a mistake. He had grabbed a wine glass, not his but Julian's, and in his gesticulating rage, he hurled it, not at her, but near her. It smashed on the floor by her feet, wine and glass spraying her shoes. The restaurant went dead silent. A woman at a nearby table gasped. Mr. Dubois looked like he was going to faint. "Mr. Sterling!" Arthur Sterling breathed heavily, his face puce. He had gone too far, and he knew it, but he was too powerful to ever apologize. Alex looked down at the shattered glass. Then, slowly, she looked back up. She met Arthur Sterling's furious eyes. Her own were calm, clear, and as cold as the bottom of the ocean. She took one step closer, invading his personal space. He instinctively recoiled. She spoke. Her voice was not loud. It was not a shout. It was a precise, clear, devastating whisper that seemed to cut through the entire, silent room. "Stop, or I will expose exactly what happened to the Alistair Group 10 years ago." The world stopped. Everyone froze. The diners, the waitstaff, Mr. Dubois. Julian Sterling's smug look evaporated, replaced by utter confusion. The two business partners looked at each other in naked panic. But the most profound change was in Arthur Sterling. The blood drained from his face, leaving a sickly, mottled grey. His rage vanished, replaced by a raw, undiluted shock so profound it looked like he'd been struck. His mouth opened slightly. He stared at her. Really stared at her, as if seeing her for the first time. The 20-year-old waitress, the invisible girl. "Who?" he choked out, his voice a dry rasp. "Who are you?" Alex held his gaze. The power in the room had just transferred, completely and irrevocably. She leaned in, her voice for his ears alone now. "I'm the one who just brought you your cold steak, sir." She turned, her back straight, and walked past the paralyzed Mr. Dubois. "I'll fetch a dustpan for this mess," she said, her voice perfectly normal. She disappeared through the service doors, leaving behind a silence so total it was louder than the billionaire's shout had ever been. The kitchen was a hive of panicked energy. "What did you say? Who is she? Did you see his face?" Alex ignored them. She went to the staff lockers, her hands, finally, finally allowing themselves to tremble. The adrenaline was so potent, it made her nauseous. She had rehearsed that moment 1,000 times. In her mind, she had been cool, triumphant. In reality, she felt hollowed out, terrified that she had just detonated her one and only bomb too early. Mr. Dubois burst through the door, his face pale. "Elena, my office. Now." She followed him. He didn't yell. He just sank into his chair. "I'm not going to ask you what that was. I don't want to know." "The Alistair Group. That was Marcus Vance, wasn't it?" "That was 10 years ago." He looked at her, his eyes sharp. "Mr. Sterling." He and his guests paid the check in cash and left. They didn't even wait for their coats. He looked ill. "I see," Alex said. "You are a very good waitress, Elena. The best I've had. Which is why I know you are not a waitress at all," Dubois said quietly. "Whatever you are doing, I want no part of it. Take the rest of the night off. Take the rest of the week. In fact, it would be best if you did not return. I will see you are paid for the month." It wasn't a firing. It was a severance. He was cutting her loose, protecting his restaurant. "I understand, Mr. Dubois." "Thank you," she said. She gathered her few belongings, a worn copy of The Count of Monte Cristo, a cheap burner phone, and her coat. She walked out the staff entrance into the cold, damp alley. She hadn't gone 10 feet when a black Mercedes S-Class sedan, which had been idling in the shadows, flashed its headlights. It pulled forward, blocking her path. The back door opened. A large, stone-faced man in a suit, Sterling's personal bodyguard, stepped out. "Mr. Sterling wishes to speak with you." Alex's heart hammered against her ribs. This was the second part of the gamble. "I'm not going anywhere with you." "That was not a request," the man said. From the darkened car, Arthur Sterling's voice emerged, strained and rough. "It's all right, Thomas. Wait here. Let me speak to the girl." Arthur Sterling stepped out of the car. The dim alley light cast harsh shadows on his face, making him look skeletal. The public mask of the affable billionaire was gone. This was the man who had destroyed her father. "That was a stupid move," he hissed, walking toward her. "A very, very stupid move. You have no idea what you're playing with." "I think I do," Alex said, forcing her voice to remain steady. She would not let him see her fear. "What do you want? Money? Is that it? Are you some bottom-feeding journalist who dug up an old story?" He sneered. "How much? 50,000? 100? Name your price, too. Forget." Alex laughed. It was a cold, sharp sound that startled him. "Money? You think this is about money? You have no idea." He stepped closer, his rage returning. "Then what? What was that performance? Who are you to threaten me?" Alex met his stare. "You don't recognize me, do you? You saw me 12 times. In court. Sitting behind my father. You looked right through me then, too." Recognition dawned, slow and horrific, in Sterling's eyes. He took an involuntary step back. "Vance. Marcus Vance. You're his daughter." "My name is Alex Vance," she said, savoring the name on her tongue for the first time in years. "And you are the man who put him in his grave." A flicker of something. Was it guilt? No, it was annoyance. Crossed his face. "Your father was a fool. He was weak. He took a risk he couldn't handle and he lost. That's business." "You call framing him for embezzlement business?" Alex shot back, her voice rising. "You call bribing a board member to falsify reports business? You call lying under oath business?" Sterling's face hardened into a mask of pure steel. "You can't prove any of that. It's the word of a dead, disgraced man against mine." And now it's the word of a bitter little waitress against mine. You have nothing." "Don't I?" Alex said. "You wouldn't be standing in a dirty alley in the middle of the night if I had nothing. You're scared. That Keystone project I heard you discussing. A merger, isn't it? With the Japanese conglomerate, Mitsui Saito. They're notoriously scrupulous. They wouldn't appreciate a partner whose founding success was built on fraud, would they?" He was genuinely impressed, and it made him even angrier. "You've been spying on me?" "I've been studying you," she corrected. "And I don't want your money, Arthur. I want what you took. I want my father's name cleared. I want the Alistair Group's technology, his technology, which you stole and built your empire on, returned. I want you to confess." Sterling stared at her for a long moment. Then he did something she didn't expect. He smiled. It was the most terrifying expression she had ever seen. "You're a child," he said, his voice full of pity. "You have a child's understanding of the world, a confession, justice. There is no such thing. There is only power. You have a few allegations. I have a building full of lawyers who eat allegations for breakfast." He stepped back toward his car. "You had one bullet, Alex. You fired it tonight to make a scene. It was a mistake. Now, I know who you are. And I will crush you, just as I crushed him." "I have proof," she said, a desperate last shot. "If you had proof, you would have gone to the Times, not to a table full of diners," he retorted. "You have suspicion. You have hearsay. You have nothing. Get out of New York. Forget this. If I see you, or hear of you, or even smell you near my family or my company again, I will personally ensure you spend the rest of your life in a hole so deep you'll forget the sun. Am I clear?" The bodyguard, Thomas, loomed beside him. Alex said nothing. She was shaking, not with fear, but with a sudden, awful realization. He was right. She had shown her hand. He got back in the car. The door slammed, a sound of absolute finality. The S-Class pulled away, its red taillights disappearing into the night. Alex leaned against the cold brick wall, the alley spinning. She had thought the threat would be enough, that the shame would be enough. But he was shameless. She walked for an hour, all the way back to her apartment in Queens. She locked the 3 deadbolts, her hands fumbling. She went to her closet, past the single black suit, and pulled up a loose floorboard. She entered a combination on a small, fireproof safe. Inside was a thin, worn, leather-bound ledger, her father's original notebook, and a single encrypted USB drive. "He's right," she whispered to the empty room. "Hearsay is nothing." The ledger was her father's meticulous record of the Alistair Group's core project, a revolutionary algorithm for predictive energy trading. The USB drive, which he had spent 5 years retrieving from a disgruntled ex-employee of Sterling's, contained fragmented copies of the original server data from before the merger. It was half the puzzle. It showed her father's work, and it showed the result on Sterling's servers. But it didn't have the piece that connected them. It didn't have the proof of the theft. The frame-up. "You're not a waitress anymore, Alex," she said, her reflection staring back at her from the dark window. "You're a burglar, you're a spy, and you're going to have to get the other half." She needed an inside man, and she knew exactly who it was. The weak link, the boy who hated his father, but desperately wanted to be him. Julian Sterling. Julian Sterling was a creature of habit. Alex knew this because she had been studying him for a year. He had his coffee at 10 a.m. at a hideously expensive cafe in Soho called Law. He had lunch at the New York Athletic Club. He pretended to work at his father's company in the afternoon, and by 5 p.m. He was having his first drink at a private club. He was arrogant, insecure, and desperate for validation, a toxic cocktail that made him predictable, and, Alex hoped, manipulable. 2 days after the incident at the Gilded Swan, Alex stood outside Law. She was no longer Elena the waitress. She wore the single black suit from her closet, a classic, perfectly tailored Acris pantsuit she had bought with 6 months' worth of saved tips. Her hair was down, styled in a sleek, professional cut. She wore subtle makeup and carried an expensive leather portfolio. She looked like a junior partner at a law firm. She looked like she belonged. She walked in at 9:58 a.m. Julian was at his usual corner table, staring at his phone, a look of profound boredom on his face. Alex ordered a black coffee and accidentally dropped her wallet as she turned from the counter. Her driver's license, her real one, and a few platinum-looking credit cards, carefully acquired, spilled out. She knelt to get them, just as Julian, annoyed, looked up. His eyes widened. "You." Alex looked up, feigning surprise. "Oh, Mr. Sterling. Julian, isn't it? Good morning." He stood, a confused smirk on his face. The waitress. What the hell are you doing here? And what are you wearing?" "I'm not a waitress anymore," Alex said calmly, gathering her cards. "That was a temporary research project. I'm surprised you recognized me without an apron." This intrigued him. He was looking at her differently now. She wasn't a servant. She was a woman in a $3,000 suit. A research project? What, for a gossip column? "What the hell did you say to my father?" he demanded, though his voice lacked its usual bite. He was curious. "I simply reminded him of an old business dealing," Alex said, making a move to leave. "Wait." He grabbed her arm. "The Alistair Group. I looked it up. It was nothing. A failed company my father absorbed a decade ago." Alex smiled, a small, sad smile. "Absorbed. That's a gentle way to put it. Your father is a brilliant man, Julian, but he's protective of his legacy. She had him. His entire life was defined by his father's legacy, specifically by being kept out of it." "What do you mean?" he asked, his eyes narrowing. "Just that." Alex leaned in, as if sharing a secret. "He seemed so stressed the other night. The Keystone merger must be weighing on him. It's a massive deal, a lot of due diligence. It would be a disaster if someone, say, from Mitsui Saito, started digging into the real foundation of Sterling Global." Julian's smirk vanished. "What real foundation?" "The Alistair Group," Alex said simply. "Your father told you it was a failure. What if it wasn't? What if it was the key? What if the core technology that Sterling Global's entire energy division is built on wasn't his?" Julian was pale. "You're lying." "Am I?" Alex shrugged. "Why would I lie? I'm not the one trying to secure a multi-billion-dollar merger. I just find it interesting. Your father is ruthless. He built an empire, but he doesn't trust anyone with the details, not even his own son." She hit the nerve. She knew she had. Julian's entire demeanor was that of a man perpetually left in the dark, treated like a child. "He trusts me," Julian said, too quickly. "Does he?" Alex challenged. "Does he let you in on the Keystone negotiations, or does he just send you to order wine? Did you know that the entire Alistair file, the original acquisition file, is the only pre-merger document that isn't digitized? It's kept in a physical safe, in his personal office on the 70th floor. Why would he do that, I wonder, in a fully digital company?" Julian's eyes were wide. How do you know that?" "As I said, I'm a good researcher," Alex said. "Your father's power is built on secrets, and right now he's hiding his biggest one from his new partners, and from you." She picked up her coffee. It was nice seeing you, Julian. Give my best to your father." She walked out of the cafe, her back straight, her heart pounding. She had planted the seed. Now she had to wait. The wait was agonizing. She had burned her bridges. She had no job. Arthur Sterling was undoubtedly having her watched. She moved apartments, staying in a sublet in the financial district, closer to the action. But she felt the net tightening. Twice she spotted the same man, a plain grey man in a grey suit, once outside her new building, once at a coffee shop. He wasn't Sterling's bodyguard, Thomas. This was someone else, a professional. She was running out of time and money. 4 days later, her burner phone buzzed. A new encrypted messaging app. A message from an unknown user. "You're insane. But you're right, it's not digitized. I checked. He told me it was archival redundancy." It was Julian. Alex smiled. "Hook, line, and sinker." She typed back. "He's lying to you, Julian. The question is, are you going to let him?" "What's in it for you?" he replied. "Why are you doing this?" "The waitress in me wants a big tip," Alex typed. "The researcher in me wants the truth. My name is Alex Vance. Marcus Vance was my father." The pause on the other end was long. She could feel his shock. He told me Vance was a thief. He lied." Another long pause. Then the reply that changed everything. "He's holding a gala this Friday at the Tower to celebrate the Keystone merger. The whole executive floor will be empty during the speech. If you have a plan, that's your window." "I don't just have a plan," Alex typed back. "I have a partner. Meet me tomorrow." She sent the message, but a cold dread settled over her. She had a new partner in Julian, but she had an old one she needed to deal with first. The grey man, the professional tale. She left her apartment, walking toward the Battery. She took a winding, public route, confirming he was still there, 3 car lengths back. She ducked into a crowded hotel lobby and exited through a service corridor. She waited in the alley. The man, anticipating her move, came around the corner. Alex stepped out. "You're good, but you're not with Sterling." The man stopped. He was in his late 50s, with a weary, defeated face. He looked at her not with malice, but with a profound sadness. "No, kid," he said, his voice gravelly. "I'm not with Sterling." "Then who?" The man sighed, reaching into his pocket. "Not for a gun, for a business card. It was crumpled. Robert Thorne, Private Investigations. I was Arthur Sterling's head of security 10 years ago," the man said, his eyes haunted. "I was the one who found the falsified evidence on your father's computer. I was the one who planted it." Alex felt the blood drain from her face. She was standing in front of the man who had personally hammered the nails into her father's coffin. Her first instinct was to run. Her second was to scream. She did neither. You framed him," she whispered, the words tasting like ash. "Yes," Thorne said, his face impassive, but his eyes were a storm of self-loathing. "Sterling paid me more money than I'd ever seen. He said your father was a thief anyway, that this was just tidying up. He said no one would get hurt, that Vance would get a slap on the wrist. But your father, he wouldn't plea. He fought. And Sterling buried him." "Why are you telling me this?" Alex's voice was shaking with contained rage. "Why are you following me? Are you his conscience, come back to haunt me?" "I've been following Sterling on and off for 10 years, Thorne said. "He fired me a year after the takeover, said I knew too much. He was right. I was a loose end." He looked at her. "Then, 2 weeks ago, I'm watching Sterling's building and I see you. I ran your face. Alex Vance. I knew the ghost had come back. You're here to warn me off, Alex spat. To tell me he's too powerful. I'm here, Thorne said, stepping closer, because I've been waiting. I've been waiting for someone with a reason. I've been waiting for you. He looked around the empty alley. Sterling's right about one thing. He's a fortress. But every fortress has a flaw. His flaw is that he's a pack rat. He doesn't just defeat his enemies. He keeps trophies. The physical file, Alex breathed. In his office. Exactly, Thorne said. But that's not the real prize. The file in that safe is the official story, the falsified version, the real proof, the original communications, the direct orders. Sterling thinks he destroyed all that. He didn't? Thorne shook his head. I was his security chief. I built his system. I built the firewall. I built the server protocols. And I built the delete function. And when he told me to scrub the Alistair files, I made a copy. Alex's heart stopped. A copy? Where? My insurance policy, Thorne said. I was a guilty man, but I wasn't a stupid one. I knew a man like Sterling wouldn't keep a liability like me around forever. I put the files, the real ones, on an air-gapped server. I put the access codes and the server key in a safe deposit box. And I've been paying the bill on it for 9 years, waiting for the day he'd come for me. Or for the day someone like you would come for him. This was it. This was the piece. This was the how. Why now? Alex asked, her voice raw. Why me? Why not go to the police? And say what? Thorne gave a bitter laugh. That I, a disgraced security chief, framed a man 10 years ago, and here's the proof? I'd be in jail before Sterling even got a subpoena. My evidence is inadmissible, obtained illegally. It's the fruit of a poisoned tree. It wouldn't hold up in court. But, Thorne interrupted, his eyes gleaming with a cold, tactical light. If that evidence were to be discovered, if it were to be, say, leaked anonymously from within Sterling Global's own servers during a massive, press-filled gala celebrating a merger with a foreign company, well, that's not a court case. That's a public execution. Alex finally understood. He didn't just want to help her. He wanted to pull the trigger himself, but he needed her to aim the gun. The gala, Alex said. Julian Sterling is my way in. The son? Thorne looked surprised. Good, that's good. He's the weak link. He's getting me in, Alex said, her mind racing, the plan forming, sharp and bright. But I need to get to his father's office, the 70th floor, during the party. That's impossible, Thorne said flatly. The gala is on the 50th floor, in the grand ballroom. The executive floors will be locked down. Key card, biometric scanner, and a 12-digit code that changes every hour. Only Arthur and his bodyguard, Thomas, have access. Julian can get me a key card, Alex said. But the biometric scanner, it's a thumbprint, isn't it? His father's. Yes. And Thomas will be glued to his side all night. You can't get to the office. Alex looked at Thorne. I don't need to get to the office. Not if I have you. Thorne raised an eyebrow. You built the system, Alex said. You know its bones. You're my way in. I can't just hack the mainframe, kid. This is Sterling Global, not a movie. I don't need you to hack it from the outside, Alex said. I need you to guide me from the inside. Julian can get me to the executive floor. He can use his credentials to bypass the first lockdown. But I need you to get me through the rest. The server room. The firewall. I can't just walk out with the files. I have to do what you said. I have to release them from his own system. Thorne was quiet for a long time. He was looking at her, but seeing her father. You've got his eyes, you know. He never knew when to quit either. He nodded once. All right. It's a suicide mission. But it's a good one. I'm in. But we'll need more than just his son. We'll need a distraction, a big one. And I'll need a terminal. I have to be on their internal network. I can get you a terminal, Alex said. There's a security hub on the 50th floor, just off the ballroom. Julian confirmed it. If you can get in there, can you access the 70th floor systems? Get me in that room and I can get you anywhere, Thorne said. I'll be your eyes and ears. I can loop the cameras, bypass the scanner, and open the server room. But you'll have about 4 minutes. 4 minutes between when I trigger the bypass and when the entire building's security force comes down on that office. 4 minutes, Alex said. I've waited 10 years. 4 minutes is an eternity. She put out her hand. We have a deal, Mr. Thorne. He looked at her small, steady hand, then at his own, which was scarred and shaking slightly. He gripped it. One thing, Thorne said, his voice grim. When this starts, it doesn't stop. You walk into that gala. You're not walking out as Alex Vance, the victim. You're walking out as a felon, or you're not walking out at all. You understand? I'm not the victim anymore, Alex said, her voice hard as diamond. I'm the reckoning. The Sterling Global Tower was a spear of black glass piercing the Manhattan night. The lobby was flooded with light, press, and the city's elite. It was a sea of black ties, diamonds, and strained air-kissing smiles. This was the celebration of the Keystone Mitsui merger, the deal that would make Arthur Sterling not just a billionaire, but a true global oligarch. A black town car pulled up. Julian Sterling got out, smoothing his tuxedo. He looked pale and jittery. He opened the door for his guest. Alex Vance stepped out. She was not Elena the waitress. She was not Alex the researcher. She was a vision. She wore a simple, sleeveless, column gown of deep emerald velvet. Her hair was swept up, revealing a pair of antique diamond earrings, the last remnant of her mother's. She was poise, elegance, and ice. Julian offered his arm. You look different. It's just a costume, Julian, she said, taking his arm. They walked past the first security checkpoint. Your invitation, Mr. Sterling, and guest. She's with me, Julian snapped. The guard nodded. As they walked toward the private elevators, Arthur Sterling himself was holding court near the entrance, laughing with a Japanese man, Mr. Mitsui. His eyes swept the crowd, and he saw them. He saw his son, and he saw the woman on his arm. Arthur's smile froze. The blood drained from his face for the second time in a week. He watched, paralyzed, as Alex met his gaze across the crowded lobby. She didn't smile. She didn't glare. She simply looked at him, a promise of what was to come, and then turned away as the elevator doors opened. Arthur-san, Mr. Mitsui asked, concerned. Are you all right? You look as if you have seen a ghost. Yes. A ghost, Arthur whispered, his hands trembling. Thomas! His bodyguard was at his side. The girl, Vance's daughter. She's here. Sir, how? With Julian. Get security. I want her out of this building. Now. Quietly. Right away, sir. The elevator, meanwhile, was silent. Ascending. He saw us, Julian whispered, sweating. He's going to kill me. He's going to do worse if this merger fails, Alex said calmly. Are you in or out? Julian swallowed. In. The security hub is on the 50th floor, left of the main ballroom. It's marked AV control. Thorne is waiting in the service stairwell on 49. I'll use my keycard to let him up. And the distraction? That's me, Julian said grimly. When you're ready, I do my part. The doors opened onto the ballroom. It was breathtaking. A 3-story high room with floor-to-ceiling windows, orchestras playing, and champagne flowing. Alex and Julian separated. Julian headed for the service stairwell. Alex melted into the crowd, grabbing a flute of champagne, nodding and smiling as if she belonged. She spotted Thomas, the bodyguard, sweeping the room, his eyes frantic. He was looking for her. She moved, keeping a column between them. Her burner phone vibrated. A text from Thorne. In. AV room. Go. Alex moved to the elevators. She saw Thomas spot her. He started pushing through the crowd. "Mom, stop!" She stepped into the elevator, pressing the button for the 69th floor. Just as the doors slid shut, Thomas slammed his hand against the closed door. He barked into his wrist comm. "She's in elevator C, heading for the executive floors. Lock it down!" The elevator sped up, and then jolted to a stop. The lights flickered. "Lockdown initiated," a calm voice said. Alex's heart seized. "He's trapped me." Her earpiece, given to her by Thorne, crackled to life. "Stay calm, kid," Thorne's voice said. "He's locked you out, but he's also locked himself out. He's panicking. I'm overriding the elevator bank. Stand by." The elevator jolted again and shot upward. The doors opened on the 69th floor, dark, silent, and cold. "Okay," Thorne's voice said. "The 70th floor is above you. The main stairwell is locked, but the fire stairwell isn't. Go. You've got 90 seconds until that bodyguard gets up there." Alex ran, her heels clicking on the marble. She found the fire stairs, ran up one flight, and burst onto the 70th floor. It was a tomb. "The office is at the end of the hall," Thorne said. "I'm looking at the camera. Thomas is in the stairwell. He's 3 floors below you. Move." Alex ran to the massive oak doors of Arthur's office. The biometric panel was glowing red. "It's locked," she whispered. "I know. I'm bypassing it now. This will trigger a silent alarm at the main security desk, but I'm rerouting it. It'll buy you 4 minutes. Starting now." The panel flashed green. Alex pushed the door open. The office was vast, a dark cathedral of power. She ran to his desk. Behind a painting was the safe. "It's a combination dial," she said, her hands shaking. "I know," Thorne said. "I installed it. His daughter's birthday. His other daughter. 10/22 on 88. Alex's fingers fumbled. 10/22 88. The safe clicked open. Inside was the file. "Alastair Group. Final. I have it," she whispered. "Now the server room." "My copy of the key is under the desk, taped to the left pedestal," Thorne said. Alex found it, ran to the server room door, and unlocked it. Inside, a single black server tower stood alone. "This is it," Thorne said. "The archive. This is where he keeps his trophies. Plug in the USB I gave you. It'll auto-run a script." Alex plugged it in. A blue progress bar appeared on the monitor. "What is it doing?" "It's not stealing the files," Thorne said. "It's uploading my files, my insurance policy, the real emails, the real bank transfers. It's adding them to his archive. We're not stealing, Alex. We're completing the historical record. Upload complete." "Okay," Thorne said. "Now the ballroom. Julian, it's time." "He's on his way," Alex said, pulling the drive. "Good. Now get out of there. Thomas is on your floor." Alex ran out of the server room. As she entered the main office, the elevator doors at the end of the hall opened. Thomas stepped out. He saw her. "Stop!" he bellowed, drawing his weapon. A taser, not a gun for corporate security. Alex didn't run for the stairs. She ran to the desk. She grabbed Arthur's heavy, crystal whiskey decanter. Thomas charged. She hurled it. It smashed against his chest, staggering him. She bolted for the fire stairs, plunging back into the darkness. "He's right behind me," she yelled into the earpiece. "Go, go, go, get to the 50th floor." Down in the ballroom, Arthur Sterling was on stage. He had been assured the problem was being handled. He tapped the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mitsui, thank you. Tonight, we celebrate trust. We celebrate a future built on a foundation of integrity." Julian Sterling, his face a mask of sweat and terror, was walking toward the stage. "And that foundation," Arthur continued, "is what makes Sterling global." "Father!" Julian shouted. The music stopped. The crowd turned. "Julian, what is the meaning of this? Get off the stage." I can't let you do this," Julian stammered, grabbing the microphone from his father's hand. "Julian, give me that," Arthur snarled, his mask slipping. "He's lying," Julian shouted into the mic. "The whole thing. He's lying." This was the distraction, but it was more real than Alex had planned. Julian was imploding. He built this company on a lie," Julian yelled. "The Alistair Group. He stole it. He framed Marcus Vance." The room was in chaos. Journalists were surging forward, their cameras flashing. Mr. Mitsui looked horrified. "He's drunk," Arthur roared, trying to grab the mic. "Security!" Back in the AV room, Thorne typed furiously. "He did it. He bought us the time." "Thorne!" Alex panted, bursting onto the 50th floor. "The speech. The presentation screen behind your father. Can you access it?" "Access it. I am it," Thorne said. "What's the plan?" "Julian is confessing, but it's his word against his father's. They'll say he's unstable. I need you to show them the proof, right now." "The files are on the server." "Then link them," Alex yelled. "Link the server to the screen." Thorne grinned. "I can do better than that." On stage, Arthur had just wrestled the microphone from Julian. "My apologies. My son is unwell. A family matter." He turned to Mr. Mitsui. "This is a misunderstanding." "Oh, I don't think it is," said a new voice. A spotlight, commandeered by Thorne, swung from the stage to the center aisle. Alex Vance was walking toward the stage, the Alistair Group, final file held in her hand. Thomas, the bodyguard, was right behind her, but he was trapped by the surge of reporters. "Who are you?" one journalist shouted. "Her!" Arthur Sterling whispered, his face sheet white. Alex reached the stage. She looked at Arthur, her eyes burning with a cold, righteous fire. "You said I had no proof, Arthur," she said, her voice amplified by a microphone Julian had left on. "You said it was my word against yours." "Get her off the stage," Arthur screamed. "A good idea." Thorne's voice crackled over the entire sound system. "But first, let's review the foundation of integrity." The massive 60-foot screen behind Arthur Sterling flickered. His corporate logo was replaced by a scanned document. It was an email from A. Sterling to R. Thorne. Subject, Alistair. Body. Make sure Marcus Vance takes the fall. No loose ends. I want his reputation destroyed. See to it. The room gasped. "No," Arthur stammered, turning to the screen. The screen changed. A bank transfer. 500,000. From a Sterling offshore account to Robert Thorne. The screen changed again. A side-by-side comparison. On the left, Marcus Vance's original predictive algorithm code, dated. On the right, Sterling Global's proprietary code, identical, but dated 6 months later. "It's fake," Arthur bellowed. "This is slander. This," Alex said, stepping forward. "Is the file from your office safe? The one you keep as a trophy?" She held up the folder. "And this," Thorne's voice echoed, "is the rest of the story. My full, unedited confession, along with the complete, uncorrupted server data, is currently being uploaded to the SEC, the New York Times, and every major regulator in Japan. Check your phones, ladies and gentlemen." 1,000 phones lit up. The push alert had just gone out. Arthur Sterling looked at Alex. He looked at the evidence. He looked at Mr. Mitsui, who was already walking away, his face like thunder. He looked at his son, Julian, who was weeping in the corner. The king was naked. The empire was crumbling. Alex took the microphone. "My name is Alex Vance. Marcus Vance was my father. And this is his justice." Security finally reached the stage, but they didn't go for Alex. They moved, grim-faced, toward Arthur Sterling. The fall was faster than the climb. The Gala of the Damned, as the Post called it, triggered an immediate, catastrophic collapse. By morning, Sterling Global's stock was in freefall. The SEC froze Arthur's assets. The Mitsui Saito merger was dead, replaced by a multi-billion-dollar lawsuit. Arthur Sterling was arrested before he could even leave the ballroom, led out in handcuffs, his face a mask of stunned disbelief, illuminated by a hurricane of camera flashes. Robert Thorne turned himself in at the 17th precinct, handing over his data and his written confession. He was charged, but his cooperation, combined with the public sentiment, meant he was likely to receive a significantly reduced sentence. He had, as he'd wished, done one good thing. Julian Sterling was not charged. He was, however, broken. He lost his inheritance, his name, and his father in one night. He entered a private treatment facility in Connecticut. And Alex was the eye of the storm. She spent the next 6 months in a whirlwind of depositions, legal hearings, and civil suits. With Thorne's evidence and her father's original ledger, the case was airtight. The courts officially and publicly exonerated Marcus Vance of all charges. His name was cleared. The Alistair Group's patents were returned to his estate. To Alex, the value of that technology, which had been the engine of Sterling Global for a decade, was astronomical. When the dust settled from the lawsuits and the corporate dissolution, Alex Vance was no longer a waitress. She was, ironically, one of the wealthiest women in the city. She didn't move into a penthouse. She kept her small apartment in Astoria, though she did buy the building. One cold afternoon, a year after the gala, she had a visitor. It was Julian. He looked thinner, sober, and much older. "Hi," he said, standing awkwardly in her doorway. "Julian, come in." He sat on her simple couch, refusing a coffee. I'm leaving New York. I'm going to work for a non-profit in Ohio, building houses. I'm not good at it. But it's quiet. That sounds good, Julian. I just wanted to say," he fumbled, "I'm sorry for all of it, for what he did, for being me." Alex looked at him, the arrogant boy from the restaurant, now just a sad man. "You did the right thing in the end. You told the truth." "I did it for the wrong reasons," he whispered. "I did it because I hated him for not respecting me. Not because I cared about your father." "You did it, though," Alex said. "What you do next, do that for the right reasons. That's all that matters. You have a chance to build your own name, Julian. Don't waste it." He nodded, tears in his eyes. "Thank you." He left, and she knew she would never see him again. The next day, Alex drove upstate to a small private care facility. She walked into a bright room where a thin, grey-haired man was sitting in a wheelchair, looking out the window. "Hi, Papa," she said softly. Marcus Vance turned. His eyes, clouded by the stroke he suffered after his conviction, slowly focused on her. He had not spoken in 5 years. "I have something for you," Alex said, kneeling beside him. She pulled out the New York Times, the front page headline, "Marcus Vance." Exonerated, Sterling sentenced to 30 years. She read the article to him. She read about his genius, about the company he built, and about the fraud that had stolen it. She read the public apology from the U.S. Attorney's office. When she was done, she looked at her father. A single tear was rolling down his cheek. He reached out, his hand trembling, and put it on her head, just as he had when she was a child. I, he whispered, his voice a dry crackle. I knew you would. Alex broke. For the first time in 10 years, the waitress, the spy, the avenger, she just cried, holding her father's hand. A few months later, the old Sterling Tower, now in receivership, had a new name on its lobby wall. It was the headquarters of the Vance Foundation, a non-profit dedicated to funding legal aid for the victims of corporate fraud. Alex Vance stood in the lobby, looking at her father's name, finally restored. She was no longer invisible. She was no longer hiding. She had taken back her name, her future, and her father's honor. The girl who had served the monsters at the feast was now the one setting the table. That was a story of patience, revenge, and the power of one person who refuses to stay silent. Alex proves that true strength isn't about how loud you can shout, but about knowing the one, perfect sentence to say that changes everything. She lost it all, but by facing the man who destroyed her family, she didn't just reclaim her past, she built a new future. What did you think of Alex's plan? Was Julian's betrayal justified? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you love stories about justice, incredible twists, and the powerless turning the tables on the powerful, please like this video, share it with a friend who loves a good drama, and be sure to subscribe to the channel and ring that bell. We have new stories coming every week, and you won't want to miss what happens next. Thanks for listening.